Alright, so today we're back with another 2x16 DDR4 kit, this time again a 3600 182222. So the same bin as the Patriot kit I checked out a while back. Unfortunately, just like the Patriot sticks, these are single rank and they're pretty bad as well, honestly. They're not as bad as the Patriot ones, which didn't run at XMP at all, but they don't really have any overclocking headroom. And I'm really after dual rank CJR or Revi with this one. So let's anyway take a look at this kit and what it more or less has to offer. Alright, so before we move on, here you can of course see the markings, and these are just standard height heat spreaders, so there's nothing sticking out very much if that's what you're after. Next we have the SPD, the readout from Typhoon on the left. So here's pretty standard dual rank stuff. I mean single rank stuff, sorry, 16 gigabit as you'd expect. And again, like the Patriots, these don't correctly identify, but apparently they should be Hynix MJR ICs. And interestingly, these seem to be pretty similar to those Samsung MDI ones, though the voltage scaling didn't seem as bad as those. On the right, you just see the XMP settings when I plugged it into the Apex, and that of course runs stable, so that's not a problem. So at least it works out of the box. So on this slide you can see the voltage scaling. This of course is only tested to post and if it gets into BIOS stably. So if you really want to run this through benchmarks or for daily, you'd have to relax the timings and voltages quite a bit compared to these numbers. And something of note is this kit seems to have quite a large margin between when it's actually stable and when it can just post and get into BIOS, but it's not actually stable in benchmarks and such. As you can see, the CAS scaling, there's a bit of it up to about 1.4 volts. The RCD scaling is just, it's really whatever, and the RFC scaling just is non-existent as well. Contrast this to BDI, where you get good RCD scaling and good RFC scaling at these voltages easily. And though a lot of other ICs will not have good RCD scaling, so Revi and CJR are good examples where you wouldn't have any RCD scaling. But overall, like I said, there's not really any overclocking headroom. Even at 3733, it was a struggle to get anything out of the kit. Sub-timings don't really budge either, so I didn't really bother finding anything because there was just no margin at all. Having given up on overclocking in the Intel system, I tried it with a B550 board and a 4650G. So that's Renoir, but it was just the same behavior, no scaling at all, impossible to really get anything stable. So it goes both for Intel and AMD. There's just not really any headroom in this kit. So here we have the IDA 64 numbers. Bandwidths are at the top, latencies at the bottom. In particular, I'd compare this kit to the Crucial, the 2x8 3200C16 kit. So that's running at XMP. So that kit's of course slower, it ends up with lower bandwidth, but in terms of latency they're pretty much the same, and we see that here on the next slide in SuperPi. The performance is pretty much the same as that XMP. I didn't really bother testing anything else, it's just not worth my time, I think. So in conclusion, this is just an XMP and forget kit, but honestly if you want XMP and forget, you might as well just go with a 3200C16 kit. Those are usually cheaper. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a single rank kit, so you lose some performance there. It's also 16 gigabit ICs, so particularly the RFC is just awful. And that's usually what you see with the higher capacity chips, is just the RFC goes up. So yeah, I hope you found this interesting or useful, or both. If you'd like to leave comments or suggestions down below, that's perfectly fine. I also have the Patreon if you'd like to join and support the channel, and hopefully I'll be back with another kit and a more interesting kit than this one soon.